Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Islanders season in review. I'm Nick Palmer. This is Grace McCarron, and this is the last time I'll be able to say this because we were your 2024-25 New York Islanders beat reporters for WFUV Sports, and this is the last piece of hockey beat reporting I will be doing in my FUV career, which makes me very sad, but I would rather spend it with nobody else. You are a great beat reporter and a great friend, and the New York Islanders did not make the playoffs. They finished with 82 points, finished with a 35-35-12 record. That's 6th in the Metro, 12th in the Eastern Conference, and they got eliminated late because they had a nice stretch at the end. I need an overall take on the Islanders season. Just how disappointing was it? Scale of 1 to 10. That's a good place to start.
With how disappointing, probably like a 7.5. I didn't think. I mean, it was kind of clear, I think, from a certain point, like earlier than they were eliminated, that even if they somehow snuck into the playoffs, they weren't gonna make any noise. So I kind of saw it coming. But it was like that 7-game stretch where they were beating all of those great teams and they went on a nice run. Like, that kind of made you think, if you're like optimistic at all about your hockey team, like, you never know. But overall, kind of an season. Like, it's not, I mean, certainly not the worst season we've ever seen, but it wasn't good. It wasn't really a fun time. There was a lot of things that happened that just weren't great. So.
No, there were a lot of bad things that happened, but I think if there's one positive thing you can say about this season is that it was a season of change.
Yeah.
Brock Nelson leaves the island. We don't think he's ever going to come back. That said, Lou Lamoriello is now gone after this season, so you can certainly thank this season for inciting that change, as well as it was Patrick Waugh's first full season. We'll see if he comes back. We'll see what the new GM wants. I thought it was interesting having him behind the bench. That's an inoffensive way to put it. A lot of change. But I think the biggest thing that takes it down from a 7.5, and I think you are just talking about the season.
Yeah.
This week, the New York Islanders, with a 3.5% chance in the NHL draft lottery, won over the 25.5% San Jose Sharks.
It's ridiculous.
It's ridiculous. They had the second lowest odds. And a little fun fact, because if the Rangers, if the Islanders had won one game against the Rangers this season, the Rangers would have won the draft lottery. So, Long Island.
Shout out Lydia Perner.
The hockey gods, maybe they're smiling on the Islanders.
Yeah.
And you know what? I would go even further to say, now that Brock Nelson trade is looking so good.
It really is.
That's 2 first-rounders in 2026. In addition to the fact that they also got Callum Ritchie as well. So you have so many great prospects now, and it's going to be an exciting time at the draft. My first question for you is, who do you want to see the Islanders draft at first overall?
So I've seen a lot of names floating around here. I think the consensus before they got the pick was James Higgins, and I still think that's who they should draft. I'm such a sucker for like the homegrown, like not homegrown. He's from Long Island. He grew up an Islanders fan. I love that kind of stuff. He's also a great hockey player. So I think that is the move. And I also think, I saw someone say this on Twitter the other day, like, he has been that guy for so long. Like, I feel like for a year at least we've heard about, like, oh, if they get, they have to go with Higgins. Like, if they are bad enough, they'll get him. And now all of a sudden it's like, oh, should they go with Misa? Should they go? And it's like, if it was that long and all of a sudden people are like, oh, but what about these guys? Like, you can't really turn your back immediately on the guy who they've been going after for so long. So I think Higgins is the move.
I like Higgins as the pick. A lot of people are saying Misa.
Yeah.
And, I don't think that that's a terrible choice. What I was interested in seeing, and I saw this on Twitter, was what if the Islanders take a haul from the San Jose Sharks to trade down to number 2, and then in return you still probably get Higgins because the Sharks are probably going to take Misa. So what if you say to the Sharks, we're going to take Misa unless if you give us a massive trade package.
I actually don't hate that. I didn't even think of that as a concept. But
I kind of like that. It's an interesting move.
That's interesting.
But that's something the GM would do.
Yeah, and we don't know who
and
that
we
is.
don't have one yet. So I don't know. I'm throwing my hat in the ring here.
Hey.
Yeah. I just took that from Twitter.
Yeah.
If the GM took every idea from Twitter, we would be
It would
in
be
a
bad.
terrible, terrible place. Okay, so great. We have the first overall pick. The future looks very bright. Let's talk about the future that we already had coming into this year. The prospects coming up are not first overall pick level prospects who we saw this year. We saw Mark Gatcomb. We saw, and no disrespect to these guys. I thought Isaiah George played fine. I thought Gatcomb was good at the end of the season. George had to become a regular for a certain amount of time.
I think that was probably kind of an issue for him. He was
for sure.
Thrown into it very quickly.
Thrown into the second pair.
Yeah, and that's like
That's
guy
terrible.
just came from Bridgeport.
That
like,
sucks.
yeah.
But I thought Gatcomb on the fourth line was amazing.
I loved it.
Yeah. So what do you think of our rookies this year?
Well, first of all, Max Siplikov I think was really, really, really good.
Sorry. Yes.
Yeah.
Sippy.
Love
It's
him.
hard to call him a rookie.
He doesn't
though.
feel like a rookie.
He doesn't feel because he's what 26.
Yeah.
27.
Yeah. But he was great. I loved Mark Gatcomb. I thought he did a lot for that fourth line.
Mhm.
Isaiah George, I think he has a lot of potential. Obviously, like Bridgeport is a tough case because they were just so bad this year. But it's a really like you can't even put it into words until you see them. But,
And yet,
yeah.
who's still running their team?
Right. Really makes you think. But I
It's
liked.
okay. Chris is gonna follow Lou wherever he
Yeah.
goes.
But I liked Isaiah George a lot too. Obviously, like when these guys are just thrown into, like you said, George was on the second pair,
Yeah.
mostly with Scott Mayfield. Like it's tough to expect that much of them so quickly.
Yeah.
So I think maybe he got a little bit of unfair criticism. Like he made mistakes, but like all rookies make mistakes. Kind of got to go easy on the guy. And I think I like their rookies a lot,
Yeah.
at least this season. We'll have to see what happens.
And shout out Scott Mayfield. I think he had one of the higher plus minuses on the team this year, and he doesn't get the love he deserves for what he is.
Yeah.
For a guy that plays the role that he does, I think he does a very good job. Let's talk about the players who played well before we talk about what went really poorly this season. Anders Lee led the team with goals,
He was great.
almost at 30.
Yeah.
29. I still watch the Anders Lee 40 goal season compilation
Who doesn't?
on YouTube all the time while I eat my Cheerios. But he had a great year.
Yeah.
He looked revitalized. There was a period, I think, last year where it seemed like even when he had the puck on his stick right in front of the net, it just wouldn't go his way.
Yeah.
This year, it was finally going his way, and that just came from battling down low and the kind of physical player in front of the net that he is. And that's him working at his best. And I think the Islanders are glad to see that maybe the last year or two was kind of a blip on the radar.
Yeah, he was great this season. You saw the physicality. Obviously, he's a big guy, and the leadership from him, I think, has always been there. But like
The leadership?
through like a lot of the stuff this season, like he had to take a lot of the heat, and I felt bad a lot of the time for him having to deal with their, all of the stuff that was being said about them. But I mean, he was great. He handles the locker room very nicely, I think.
Handles the media very well.
He's a
too.
great captain.
Great captain.
Even through his own struggles, like
Yeah,
before this
it was
year.
never
but
about him,
It was
though.
never about him. This year, he was the least of their. He wasn't a problem. Like he wasn't even on the problem list for them this year. He was great this year.
No,
I loved it.
We'll get into the problem list.
Yeah.
But I do want to give a quick tip of the hat to Bo Horvat, who I think
Yes.
deserved it as well. Consistency was a big issue for the Islanders. One player that it felt like was completely consistent throughout all 82 is Bo Horvat.
Yeah, loved it. That's another guy who you need to like see that toughness from, and I think like they had that this year, and that's kind of why I feel like they were in it for so long. I feel like it was those guys who were really like keeping it going when like Anthony Duclair, who we'll talk about, but some other guys just had nothing, and they had injuries and all of that. But those guys were so consistent, like they really kept them in it until. I mean, really, the end of the season, they were somehow still in the playoff picture. They were those two, I think, were the main reasons. And you can throw Ilya Sorokin on there, too.
I was going to say, you can totally throw Ilya Sorokin in there when it seemed like in the first half of the year, people were ready to count him out, which felt insane.
That's insane.
I get that he didn't have the start you wanted after signing the kind of contract that he's signed. That said, he ends up with 29 wins and a 2.77 goals against. That's nothing to sneeze at. Even more, top 10 in the league in terms of goals saved above expected.
Yeah.
If you have a top 10 goaltender in the league, I'm sorry, he's doing his job, and it's
Yeah.
up to the rest of the team, the defense, to do a better job. And even more than the defense, perhaps, the special teams this year were awful.
Yeah, every time they went on the power play, I was like, this is actually like good for the other teams. They're not going to score. They're not going to do anything on the power play. It was clear from early that they were just not going to do anything. And even the penalty kill sometimes was like, it was a little, it had its periods being fine, but it was never like great. It was those two things were always such a liability for them, and it was really bad. Every single time they went on the power play, you're like, there's reasons for that we'll talk about, but like they had nothing on the power play, and other teams like capitalized on the fact that they couldn't score on the power play.
Yeah. And do you want to hear the worst? Do you want to hear the worst part of it?
Sure.
The Islanders took the second fewest penalties in the league, and still the penalty kill was not where it needed to be.
That's terrible.
This team did a good job of not taking a lot of penalties. They also didn't draw a lot of penalties.
Yeah.
They were also, I believe, second least penalties drawn. But outside of that, man, it just felt like the power play wasn't a power play at all. It felt like honestly, and this is not hyperbole, it felt like you almost wanted it to be 5-on-5.
Yes, that was every single time for me.
That should never be the case when you're watching a hockey team.
Yeah, no, there was no like excitement when they went on the power play. It was kind of more of a sense of dread.
No, it's like, are they going to give up a shorthanded goal here?
Yes, I was genuinely afraid that was going to happen.
Yeah. Okay, we'll move on from this because I'm starting to get upset. Let's talk about injuries, because there were a lot of them this year.
Yeah.
I think the first one you have to talk about is Matt Barzal, which came, I think, in the 1st of February, and that was just immediately crippling for the New York Islanders.
Yeah.
The team lost speed. It lost dexterity. He's so good on his edges, and I think that's why the power play was so awful this year.
That's what I think, too.
Because Matt Barzal is the guy that just creates space on the power play. He can take up two defenders and get Bo Horvat open for a backdoor pass, can get Anders Lee for a backdoor pass. When he's not on the ice, this team seriously suffers.
Yeah. That was the big one for me. Another big one, a big injury for them. Anthony Duclair was kind of just a liability, whether he was healthy or not.
But it was a big injury. I think that's a very good point.
That was a big injury.
It's a great point, because they signed him before the year expecting him to play at least 60 games for them. And he was out every 2 weeks.
How many games did he play? Do we know? Do we have that number?
I'll get that number up for you while we talk about perhaps an injury that might have flown under the radar. Semyon Varlamov.
That I think is one of the biggest injuries.
Not even their backup goaltender, but they were one of those tandems that you could say, okay, that's a 1A, 1B. You can throw either one out of there and have a pretty good chance to win. Semyon Varlamov goes down in December. Doesn't come back for the rest of the year. And all of a sudden it's, okay, Ilya, go out and play 45 games, and maybe Marcus Hogberg will take a couple of them. But
I will give Marcus Hogberg a little credit here. He had a good run there. But that's also kind of like he reached his limit as highly useful.
Yes.
Varlamov you could generally rely on to give you a few good games, and then Sorokin obviously takes the most of them. But it's their third string goalie. Like, it's tough to ask that much of him. And then he had a period where he was just not reliable at all.
No.
And then it's a domino every single time, because if your backup goalie option isn't any good, then you have to put Sorokin out there, especially when you're still alive for a playoff spot. But then he gets tired and he starts giving up goals, and everyone's like, Ilya Sorokin's bad stretch, and it's like, well, there's a reason for the bad stretch, and it was Varlamov's injury. I think was one of the biggest problems this year.
And I think that's evidenced by when Islanders would go into back-to-back games.
Yeah.
And you're just thinking, we're going to lose one of these. I mean, we've put Ilya through so much, and now we're going to have him play 2 games in 24 hours. As far as Anthony Duclair is concerned, 44 games for Duke, minus 15. 11 points in 44 games. That's averaging a point every 4 games. Man. I don't know. I think I'm not thrilled with Lou, given his injury history.
Yeah.
going for Duke there. I don't think it's a bad idea in theory. If you know what, hey, maybe the medical experts cleared him and everything looked good, fine. He gave up with 11 games to go. He left the team.
Yeah, that was not good.
And we all just kind of let it slide.
Yeah.
What kind of a player? I don't know what was going on with him. I don't want to make any assumptions.
Yeah.
That said he's stepping away from the team. That's not what a teammate does.
That's not what a teammate does. And it's like when you've had, like, obviously there's not really anything you can do about the injuries. Like, they're going to happen. And you can't really play him out there when he's that injured. But, like, it's such a bad look when that was kind of a big deal over the summer when they signed him. I mean, I was excited. I don't know how you felt. But, like, yeah, I think we were all like, oh, that's a good move. It's interesting. And then it goes like this. Especially in the season where they had, like, so many things. Like, it was thing after thing. They had all those overtime losses early. Like, adding on to that, and then Waugh, like, tears into him, and then he's like, I'm taking some time away. It was just, like, a really bad period there for them.
Very clearly there was a disagreement between the two. Yeah. Just for anyone who wasn't there for it, Waugh, after a 4-1 loss to his former team, the Tampa Bay Lightning. Not Waugh's former team, Duclair's former team. Waugh says Duclair was god-awful. Duclair does not show up at practice on Thursday morning. And he said, we had a very good conversation, a positive one. He asked me to take some time off and reflect. So he agreed to it. I mean, if
2 weeks left in the season.
2 weeks left in the season.
Like, you have a whole off season to reflect.
Yeah.
So
reflect and play some hockey, man. That's what they paid you to do.
Yeah.
Not the best look for the Islanders. I think also just quickly to mention, Pelech and Pulock were not healthy together for a big part of the season.
Yeah.
And I know people are saying, oh, the Pelech and Pulock pair is not as effective as it once was, say in those late 2010 playoff runs or in 2020. But they're a big part of the defense, and like we mentioned earlier, Isaiah George on the second pair, that's not what you want to see.
That was tough. And even pairing him with a guy like Scott Mayfield for a lot of his games, it's still a lot to ask of a rookie to play second pairing minutes. Like that's throwing him into the fire like that. And he had his moments of being really good, but he also made mistakes, and that happens. You can't really knock him that much for that. All rookies mess up every now and then. So I felt bad for Isaiah George. And then Pelech and Pulock, like, that was another tough situation when they're both not healthy a lot of the time. And then when they are healthy, it's not the same. Like, it was thing after thing with the defense. I feel like there was a lot going against them this year. So, yeah.
A lot going against them. A lot of losing for the Islanders. Not just games, but players, too. There's two guys I want to highlight. The first of them was Brock Nelson, who was traded on the trade deadline March 7th, 2025, a day that will go down in infamy. No, actually, it might, for a good reason.
Yeah.
2026 first rounder, Calum Ritchie and Oliver Killington, but they flipped him to the Ducks for future considerations. That must feel so bad, by the way, when you get traded and it's
like
not
for
even
10
for
minutes.
future considerations. Yeah. My 13U hockey coach, who was the first coach I ever had, he tough love, but without the love, he was just like not nice. He threatened that he would trade me for a bag of pucks.
Oh, wow.
After I gave up 5 goals to the Junior Ducks. 5 goals in one period to the Junior Ducks.
I mean, we all have our days.
We all have our days in Anaheim. Brutal, because that's a long drive for me too. Anyway, back to the point. Yes, they did not trade Brock Nelson for a bag of pucks.
No.
They got a bundle of riches. And now, if you were to grade the farm of every NHL team, it would be tough not to have the Islanders in the top 5.
I agree. I mean, that trade, like, looking at it from the opposite end
looks
for
so
Colorado.
good.
No, for Colorado.
Oh, yeah, for them.
Looks absolutely brutal because they got him as a rental. He didn't do anything in the playoffs. He wasn't great in the playoffs.
No.
And they lost in the first round. Like, they didn't make any playoff noise. And I know a lot of people who had them winning the cup. I thought they were going to make at least a deep run.
Yeah.
So that's brutal for Colorado, but great for the New York Islanders. I mean, I love Brock Nelson.
You don't want to see him fail. Also, he had 2 games with 2 assists in the playoffs.
Yeah, like, all right, he was
okay.
It was fine. But he wasn't a huge playmaker in the playoffs. I'll say that. But I do.
He still ended up +2.
Yeah, I do. I miss him in blue and orange, but this was the best case scenario for the Islanders, because if you're going to have to make that kind of like heart-wrenching trade at the deadline with the way that the team was looking, like they did really well for themselves there.
Yeah. How about in 4 years, like the year before he's about to retire, we bring him back for a year?
I love that.
When everyone has grown up and
when Mark Gatcomb is like on the first line.
That's the first player I was thinking of, actually.
Really?
No. No, there were about 5 other names that passed through my head. Mark Gatcomb was great this year.
I love Mark Gatcomb.
In news of other people who are gone, I guess more officially now because he didn't play last year. Cal Clutterbuck announced his retirement on April 23rd. It was like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
1,064 NHL games, all-time hits leader in the NHL. Big Cal. All-time Islander.
Love him. Yeah.
Give me your thoughts on Cal Clutterbuck as an entire body of work.
Well, first of all, great NHL career, great long NHL career. He was on some good Islander teams too. That identity line with Zeker, Martz, and him, special place in my heart because I love all 3 of them. I also honestly like he seemed to really kind of like outside the ice a little. He was great at the broadcasting thing this
Smart
year.
guy.
Like, smart guy. Brought a lot of great insight, like from very recently, like guy who just hung up the skates.
And not just when he's wearing those glasses either. I mean, he looks really smart when he's wearing those glasses, but he's just bright in general.
But I love him as a broadcaster. I hope he's around for a long time, and he has a long career in that. But, like, obviously we're going to miss him on the ice because he was fantastic.
Having the Thomas Hickey Cal Clutterbuck combination would feed families on Long Island for a long, long time. Talking about big events on Long Island, that's not really a big event, but I'm just trying to transition here. Alex Ovechkin, he scored goal number 895 at UBS Arena. I was there, and it was awesome. I can't even lie.
Yeah,
the Islanders were done. The Islanders were done. They did a whole
and they still won that game.
Then they still won that game.
That was actually best case scenario for both of us.
I know.
Like,
yeah. They still won that game.
That's what I'm going to remember. I don't know about you, but I'm going to remember that when Alex Ovechkin made history, the Islanders still won that game.
The Islanders still won that game.
So I went home happy.
Regardless, it was a nice moment. I don't think it's number 895 having it happen to you is necessarily a point of ridicule or anything like that. I think it's just something that happened. It's not like you lost the cup, you know?
Like, it's fine. Obviously, it's unfortunate. It's a little unfortunate we're going to be seeing that goal scored on Ilya Sorokin for years and years and years until, like, if anybody ever breaks it, which I don't know that they will, but that's a little unfortunate. But I'm sure Ilya Sorokin is fine. He's going to be fine. He's still a great goalie.
He's still a great goalie.
And it's, like, it is what it is. And, again, they still won that game.
They still won that game.
Was it 4-1 or 5-1? I don't remember. It was a decisive Islanders win. That's what I remember.
Let me take a look here.
But it was a really. I was in the stands for that.
It was a 4-1 win for the Islanders, but I think what was more important was that Mark Gatcomb scored more goals thanAlex Ovechkin did that game.
That was the Mark Gatcomb hat trick watch game. Oh my god!
Watch game. He did not score a hat trick.
God, you would be really sick of me if
Gatcomb 2, Ovechkin 1. Checkmate.
I mean, hey, like, makes you think. But I was in the stands for that. You were in the press box.
Yes.
It was really crazy in the stands. Like, a lot of Caps fans there, obviously, and everything stopped when he scored that. It was like you could feel the moment hang in the air, and it was really awesome. Like, it was an awesome hockey moment. It happened to the Islanders, but like, it's fine. I'm over it.
Yeah.
And the Islanders still won that game. I'll keep saying it.
They still won that game.
They did.
That said, one of those teams is still in the playoffs.
Yes. Well.
So.
Yeah. Mark Gatcomb still scored 2 goals that day.
Alex
Ovechkin only scored 1. So.
Mark Gatcomb, future Conn Smythe winner.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
book,
calling it
book
now.
it, book it now,
Book it
guys.
now.
You
All right.
clip this.
All right, we're going off the rails here. Can I just get some final thoughts on the New York Islanders and this season and what this season has meant to you?
Well, I mean, it was my first time being on the beat, so
You
it was
did a
lot,
great job.
Thank you. It was a lot of fun. Met a lot of great other reporters there, and talked to a lot of cool players. It was just really cool to be around. For the season itself, I mean, kind of just a big shrug. Like, they had their moments of, like, maybe they could do it. I'm trying to think of the moment where I thought, like, oh, maybe they can make the playoffs. Let me look at I mean, it was definitely during that 7-game win streak. Like, I was at the game on January 25th where they beat Carolina in overtime. Maybe that was one of them that I really thought, like, oh, they might be able to do this. And then they beat the Lightning in Tampa in overtime a few days later. So they had their moments.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, like, they didn't have enough. I don't think even if they'd snuck in, they would have been able to do anything. So it's kind of a big shrug of a season, but it was a fun ride. Like, we had some really fun moments. There were some fun games that we covered. I mean, you got the Ovechkin game, which is probably the best one to have been at. But
and you got the Buffalo game.
I did get the Buffalo game. God, that was something.
They lost 7-1, by the way. It's fine because the Rangers lost 8-1 to Buffalo.
You know what I also was in attendance for, and I was next to our very own Lydia Perner for, is the 9-2 Rangers victory at UBS. I don't know which one was worse. Probably the Buffalo game. That was really bad.
I thought that was at MSG.
No, that was at UBS.
You also went
April
to the one
10th.
at MSG.
Yes, I was.
Which the
we
Islanders
were in the
also
stands
lost.
for that one.
I was in the
That
press box.
was 4-0 Rangers. But
hey,
the other
but
one
aren't
was
you
worse.
glad we lost?
I am now.
But aren't
looking
you
back,
glad we lost?
Looking back, I'm like, it was awful in the moment. Like, sitting in that press box, that final Rangers-Islanders game at UBS, in the moment when they scored 9 goals on the Islanders was not great.
If
but
only
now
you had
it's
known
fine.
when you're sitting next to Lydia Perner and the Rangers have put up 9 goals and she's having the time of her life.
She was like grinning like an idiot. Will Cooley scored.
And if only you could just turn to her and say, I know the future.
Yeah. If only.
The result of this game will give us the first overall pick and not you.
So, looking back, it ended up being fine.
Yeah. This is the only time when Captain Hindsight is like a good thing.
Exactly.
I'd like to throw out some thank yous since my tenure is over as a New York Islanders beat reporter. My first thank yous, Lou Orlando, Will Talent. Excellent station managers here. They did a fantastic job letting me do my thing, trusting the process, and can thank them very much for that. Even going back, Julia Moss, Ryan Gregware, even as far back as Alex Wolves, who just gave me a shot here. All of those guys, big thank you to. And then on the Islanders side, all of the, PR media team, Kimber Adenauer, very, very fair guy, and I appreciate that. Lane Lambert, Patrick Waugh, thank you for giving me the time of day. And to all the Islanders players, seriously, it's a good group of guys out there. They have heart, they want to win, and they're respectful. And, as a young guy sort of walking in there, pretty darn timid, they don't have to be nice. And they don't have to be respectful, but they are. And I'd like to shout out, especially someone like Anders Lee. That was really nice. Finally, the other members of the press for the New York Islanders. Day one, I sat down at a table next to him like a kid in the cafeteria. I said, "Hey, can I sit with you guys?" Stefan Rosner, Andrew Gross, Russ McKeas, Ethan Sears, Arthur Staple. The list goes on and on and on. I'm Joe Pantorno.
Yeah.
Scott Charles. All of
Love
these guys.
Scott.
All of these guys really do the entirety of Long Island a service by beat reporting for the New York Islanders, and fans are very, very lucky to have them. And you're very, very lucky to have Grace McCarron as your New York Islanders beat reporter next season. And is it clear who you'll be doing it with?
Not yet.
Still unclear.
We'll
so
see.
keep an eye out for that. But if you want some tried and true expertise, the lady sitting across the table from me does a sure fine job of that. So I'm looking forward to what you have for next year.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Thank you all for everyone who followed along this year for both of us. And the last couple years that I've covered the Islanders has been one of the distinct pleasures of my life. It has taught me lessons and skills that are invaluable. And, I grew up in LA. I am a Kings fan at heart, but dang, this team captured a little piece of my soul and will keep it forever. The New York Islanders have a bright future, and I'm glad that I'm leaving at a time when I can say I am optimistic about the future of the New York Islanders, because if you asked me that a year ago, I wouldn't be sure.
Yeah, I agree. Absolutely.
So that's all we've got for you guys on the 2024-25 season. Thank you guys for following along. Please follow along next year with Grace at Grace McCarron on X. If you want to catch my sports ramblings, I will continue to do it. It's an addiction. Nick Palmer 55 on X as well. Please follow WFUV Sports. They will continue with great coverage for years to come. Thanks, everyone. Let's go Islanders.